What's up YouTube? It's James Q Quick from Learn, Build, Teach, and today I want to tell you about the best Visual Studio Code extensions for CSS. Alright, so first I just want to start off by saying that Visual Studio Code is actively adding features and functionality. If you pay attention to the updates, they come out every month. If you're on the regular edition, if you're on the Insiders edition, you get them on a daily build basis so you can get stuff before it's really fully approved to go out there. But even with all of the great functionality that's there, there are still some amazing extensions that can help you working with your CSS specifically. So the first one we're going to look at is IntelliSense for CSS class names in HTML. So let me open up my extensions tab. And I've got these already installed but disabled, so I'm going to come down and I can open it just so you guys can see what it looks like. But mainly what I want to do here is go ahead and enable, and then I'll reload and you can see how fast VS Code is to add functionality. So to test this out, I'm going to come into my app CSS and I'm going to add a .test class, and I don't really have to assign it anything, I just have to have it there. And so with that .test class, if I come back and start typing in test, I don't see anything come up. So I can come in to the command palette with Command Shift P or Control Shift P and run cache CSS class definitions. And so that'll go out to my CSS file. It'll cache all the classes that are there so that we can reference them. And if I start typing test now, it'll go out and actually recognize that test is a class in my CSS file here. So the reason this is useful is that, if you work on CSS, and you add a bunch of different classes and you can't remember maybe exactly what the class name is, or if you have a really long one like flex column background blue, which is probably not a good class name, but if you do, IntelliSense always helps you speed up your development process. So that's why I think this extension is super useful. Now with that extension, let me come in and turn that one off. There's also one more extension that does more or less the same thing. Let me turn this one off, and then I'll activate the HTML CSS support. And from what I can tell, it gives you kind of similar or the same IntelliSense capabilities, but you don't have to. I haven't had to manually run a cache. So if I type in flex center, flex column, those pop up. If I type in test, that comes up. If I type in container, which is also a class that I have, I think that will show up. Let me see if that is one of... Nope, looks like I got rid of container in here, so that makes sense. Full is one of my classes. So it does the exact same thing where it goes out and reads your classes from your CSS files and then provides them to you with IntelliSense, which again, I think is super useful. So I'm going to disable that one and enable something called CSS Peek, and then we'll reload and take a look at that one. And what this allows you to do is, one, you can hold down the command key on your Mac or control on your Windows machine. And if you hover on top of this, it'll actually show you the CSS for that class. So if you want to just look at what the CSS is without actually having to open that CSS file and scroll to it, you can do that just by holding down command and hovering over it. Now you also get the ability to hold down command and then click to take you to that spot in your CSS, which is super helpful as well. And then lastly, you can right click on any one of your classes and do go to definition, and it'll take you to that same spot. Now without this extension, right clicking and go to definition is an option, but it doesn't work. It says the definition can't be found, I think. So with this extension, you can inspect the code right in line, you can navigate to it by clicking on the link, or you can right click and click go to definition as well. So this one has a couple different reasons why it's useful. Definitely one that I would include in your workflow for CSS. So the next one I'm going to look at is Autoprefixer. This one is pretty sweet because auto-prefixing is something I'm not super comfortable with, but is a pain for anyone. So what auto-prefixing is in some browsers, they need different prefixes to your CSS properties to work within that browser. So what this command or what this extension does is it gives you an auto prefix command that pops up here. And when I do this, when I run this command, it's going to auto prefix all of the things, all the properties in here that do need to be auto prefixed. So something like box sizing, border box, needs to add a WebKit prefix to work. there. Something like display flex needs a MS and a WebKit prefix. So you can see all of these different tags that were added to make sure that these things work in all browsers as best as possible. Again, a lot of this kind of stuff is built into if you use something like Angular CLI, Create React App, or Vue CLI. It's kind of tied into the process that it bundles things together for you. It goes ahead and takes care of this. But if you're just working on an application where it's up to you to take care of it, much easier to just add this extension, run one command, and have it do all the updating and prefixing that you need. So last up here is a snippets extension, and this is snippets for Bootstrap 4, Font Awesome 4, and Font Awesome 5. Now, Bootstrap 4 is probably the most popular CSS framework out there. There are several other ones that are really, really popular as well, but for the purposes of this conversation, these snippets I think are pretty relevant. So what this gives you is the ability to come into your CSS. Let's say you're working, or your HTML. Say you're working with a Bootstrap project, and you can come in and start typing Bootstrap classes, or actually these are more geared towards snippets. So let's come in. I'm going to create some open space here. So if I wanted to type in a Bootstrap snippet, I can prefix it with B4, which is Bootstrap 4. And then you get all these different things here that create, and you can see the code, an example of the code over here in this box, that create a ton of the different things that you could think of that you would do with Bootstrap. So something like a button, it adds the button and the button primary classes on an input of type button. Bootstrap 4, if you come down to badge, you can do a badge button. You can do a Bootstrap 4 and come in and do, let's say, a card default down here will give you a basic card with an image at the top, a body, a title, and text inside the body as well. So all those different things that you would like to do in Bootstrap that are really, really standard, you can find for a lot of them the shortcuts to go ahead and type out all of that code. Now you can also do Font Awesome code snippets. So there's Font Awesome 4 and 5. And then in here, if you want to do the Font Awesome CSS include, you can do that one. If you want the Font Awesome 5 JS include, you can do, or actually that's not what I expected. Font Awesome 5, Font Awesome 5 JS there, we'll do the JS include. And then you've also got your icons that you're used to too. So if you Font Awesome 5 pin maybe, down here you can get pin, an alternate pin, a fancy pin, a square pin, all that kind of stuff. So if you you can use these shortcuts to include Bootstrap, include Font Awesome, and then generate little snippets of things that you would commonly use that you don't really need to go and look up or memorize every time. Just install the extension and go ahead and tab through them and let it autocomplete for you. And there's one last extension I want to show you guys, and this is the Prettier extension. Now, typically, or maybe normally, you think of Prettier as being a code formatter for JavaScript, but you may or may not know that you can actually use code formatting with Prettier for your CSS as well. So I'm just going to show you guys a couple of different things. I've got a bunch of white space in here. I've got some ugly tabs. I've got some ugly spaces, a bunch of ugly returns, just a messed up CSS code. Obviously, it's not very well formatted. And when I do a Command S to save, and I have this extension enabled, it's going to go ahead and fix all of that stuff for me. I left those two lines. I'm not exactly sure why. Usually it gets them. But if I add some extra space and then save, it automatically goes ahead and gets rid of that stuff for me. So I don't really have to take time to make sure that my CSS or my JavaScript, for that matter, is very well formatted. I just let Prettier take care of that, and it does a fantastic job. So I would highly recommend checking out Prettier code formatter with VS Code as well. So those are some of the top extensions in Visual Studio Code for CSS that can really add a little bit of functionality and save you some time and memory and effort in your workflow to make yourself a little bit cleaner and easier to get going. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in future ones. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out learnbuildteach.com to sign up for the newsletter to learn about my latest content. Thanks for watching.